topic, functional MRI, which follows the activity of the tissue. So it is a functional magnetic resolution imaging, which is a technological variant of normal MRI scan. It captures the series of images over a time period, and it captures mainly the alteration in MRI signals. The word is important: alteration in MRI signals of a tissue, which depends on the changing in either blood flow or the hemoglobin status. So it is a activity of tissue is captured in form of altered MRI signals. So there are two type of signals which can be captured in functional MRI. So there are two type of functional MRI. One is a bold MRI, another is a ASL MRI. Bold is a full form of blood oxygen level dependent MRI. ASL means it is arterial spin labeling. We are labeling the arterial spin. The ASL MRI also can be called as perfusion MRI because it indicates the blood flow of the tissue. Now, what is the principle of bold MRI? Oxyhemoglobin in arterial blood, it is diamagnetic in nature. So this diamagnetic oxyhemoglobin repels the external magnetic field, so it produces the loss or decrease of local signal. Whereas the deoxyhemoglobin in venous blood, it is paramagnetic in nature, which resonates or aligns in the direction of external magnetic field, so there is a gain or increased local signal. So this is the tissue, and this is the arterial end, and this is a venous end. So in arterial end the oxyhemoglobin is there, in venous end the deoxyhemoglobin is there. If you apply the external magnetic field, this is the external magnetic field, so it goes away from the oxyhemoglobin field, so produces the signal void, and towards the venous end it goes through the deoxyhemoglobin, so there is a signal gain. So this is the basis of functional MRI, and this is the principle also. So now what is the further course? Now the changes in the tissue activity will produce the changes in the hemoglobin oxygenation level, and it will produce a local distortion of the magnetic field which will be captured. So this bold MRI has two resolution. One is the spatial resolution, one is the temporal resolution. Spatial resolution indicates the normal area involved, which can detect up to 1 to 10 millimeter, which is better than the PET, and the temporal resolution is up to few seconds. So it will take the time lag of few seconds to appear the result of the MRI. So this temporal resolution is also dependent on blood flow and the heart rate. So basically it is dependent on the dynamic status of a person. So now what are the advantages of functional MRI? It is a non-invasive technique, it has no radiation into it, there is no IV contrast used because bold is an endogenous contrast which is already present, and there is a better spatial resolution than the pattern EEG, and it can detect the interacting region of the brain also. The disadvantage of functional MRI, bold functional MRI, is there is a poor temporal resolution than the PET, and there is a hemodynamic status dependent nature of this test, and the cerebral blood flow as per se is an indirect measure of activity. It cannot measure directly the activity of brain, which can be measured by the EEG and other scans. Loud noise from the scanner, it can produce a acoustic trauma and can produce a hearing loss in a person, and there is some artifact or signal dropouts or spatial resolution which is present in the occipital area and the frontal eye field. So these are present because of eye movements. Frontal eye field has a motor muscles area, so, and occipital has a vision area. So normally this eye are moving during the test, so it produces the artifact or signal dropout in the spatial resolution. So now what is the application of this functional MRI? So during the application we read 3 points mainly, broadly classified. First is imaging. It can image the normal brain function like olfactory system and all, and second point is it can image the altered brain function, and third it can image the plasticity of the brain. So first normal brain function, then altered brain function, and plasticity of brain. Normal brain function, we are first going to see auditory system. Auditory system we can measure pre-op evaluation for before the cochlear implantation. So what we can check is orientation of the auditory cortex, the tonotropic representation of the auditory cortex, and which hemisphere is dominant. And same auditory system we can test post-operative to the cochlear implant. So we will test the stimulation response of the brain, whether our cochlear implant is in place or not. In olfactory system also, the functional relation of the cortex and subcortex, like brain stem and cerebellum, that also can be tested. Altered brain function, second point is altered brain function. So imaging can be done during the swallowing, imaging can be done during the speaking, and also can be done during the hearing. For swallowing it is done for the dysphagia, for speaking it is done for dysphagia, and during hearing done for the SNHL. But SNHL there can be artifacts because of scanner sound, so it is not very important, but for swallowing and speaking we can use it. Imaging plasticity of a brain. Imaging plasticity, we check the response of the cochlear implantation, and we can check the response of cognitive behavior therapy or tinnitus retraining therapy. Either how is the brain areas responding to the therapies, and also we can check the response of drugs in tinnitus, in vertigo, in hyposmia. So this is the end of function MRI.